Did you or your child just get an SAT score back, and are you wondering what's a good SAT score? If so, in this video, I'm going to talk you guys through the different score bands of what makes up a decent, a good, a great, and an awesome SAT score. We're going to talk about what kinds of colleges. I'm going to give you lists of representative colleges from each of those score bands. And then we're also going to talk about the context of a test optional / test required, test blind environment, and what your scores mean given those parameters. My name is Brooke. I've been coaching the SAT for 2 decades. I scored perfectly on a previous version of the exam as an adult. I've coached students to perfect scores. We've even had a student score perfectly using our self-paced online course, which you can find at SupertutorTV.com. We have a free trial you can check out with a free digital SAT practice test. So I recommend that you guys go there. We also have tutoring if you're looking for private tutoring, which is a great way to build accountability. We have me, we have other tutors as well available, and we also have essay coaches as well if you're looking for essay help. So first, let's start with a benchmark. What is a benchmark? A benchmark is a score that research from the College Board has found gives you about a 75% chance of succeeding your first semester in college with grades of a C or better in similar disciplines. On the reading and writing section, that benchmark is going to be 480 points, so I want to see a 480 or above. On the math section, that's a 530, so I want to see a 530 or above. If you're just hitting benchmark or kind of just above that, I would say you have a decent SAT score. And where can a decent SAT score make a difference? At colleges where the median range of scores, the median is about 980 to an 1180. And what is that? That's UMass Boston, Northern Arizona, University of Toledo, Old Dominion, University of West Florida, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Kent State, Wichita State, Rocky Mountain College, University of South Alabama, Central Michigan, Texas State, Sam Houston State, and Indiana State University. Now you might think, oh, some of those colleges are test optional, and some of them are, but at some of these colleges, a test score can make a difference in ways that you might not initially think about. One, it can help with course placement, even at schools that don't even take an SAT or an ACT, right? UCLA test blind, but your SAT reading score could get you out of an English class at UCLA. Scholarships. Many colleges and universities will consider SAT scores and scholarships. Some will even have grids where if you have this GPA and this test score, here's how much money we'll give you. Automatic, right? And sometimes it's automatic, sometimes it's suggested, but it can definitely help you with scholarships. Third, honors college. If you're going to a school that maybe isn't as highly ranked, you may want to be part of the honors department, and to do so, a test score can help you do that. So just many reasons why a test score can be helpful at some of these colleges, even if they're technically test optional. And you might think, oh, this is the lower end. I don't even need a test score if I'm not going to get a 1500. But again, it can still be valuable. I recommend that you check out the policies for the particular schools that you're interested in applying to. And in some states like Georgia and Florida and Texas, there are many colleges and universities that are returning to test required, and you need to pay attention to those requirements and rules. So especially if you're in one of those states, I recommend that you double check before you apply to make sure that you're in good shape. Next up, what's a good SAT score? To me, a good SAT score is in the 1200s up to 1300. University of Denver, University of Delaware, University of Colorado Boulder, Marquette, Indiana, Texas A&M, University of South Carolina, University of Arizona, University of Iowa, Temple University, University of Oregon, Michigan State, University of New Hampshire, University of North Dakota. So you see on this list, we have some big, huge state schools. There's obviously lots of little schools that also would be happy to see that you've got a 1200 on your SAT, and that's going to help work in your favor, again, for all of these elements: scholarships, admission, class placement, automatic admission, automatic scholarships, all of these things, your test score can help you. And that's kind of a range of where that level of score speaks, where it can add to your application and help support the idea that you're going to be able to succeed at this college. Next up, we're going to talk about what's a very good SAT score. To me, a very good SAT score is somewhere above a 1300 up to about a 1400. Where can you go with a very good SAT score and have your SAT score matter? And again, these are about median scores. What I'm doing is I'm going about the median in that 25th to 75th percentile range. That's how I'm getting kind of the order of these lists. So University of Florida, University of Miami, Ohio State, Pepperdine, University of Texas at Austin, North Carolina State, NC State, Drexel, Purdue, University of Connecticut, University of Georgia, and Penn State. Now, I will add a caveat to this, and that is if you're applying to particularly competitive majors, you might want a higher score. At Purdue, for example, if you're applying computer science, I probably want to see a 700 plus on each section and definitely like a 750 plus in your math. So take all this with a grain of salt. This is across the entire college. Some of these are really big colleges, but ballpark, this gives you an idea of what kind of test scores can get you in the door. Next up, we have what's a great SAT score. To me, a great SAT score is probably in the 1400s all the way up to a 1500, starting at the top with a 1500 median SAT for admitted students that enrolled. Emory University, Northeastern, Case Western, Villanova, Boston College, University of Notre Dame, Georgetown, University of Virginia, University of Michigan, University of Rochester, College of William and Mary, Tulane, U of I, Champaign-Urbana, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Boston University, Wake Forest University, Georgia Tech, UNC Chapel Hill, Lehigh, University of Washington, though note it is partially test blind, so if you're not at the 50th percentile or above, meaning if you do not score around a 1410 or above, they're not even going to look at your score at all. And Southern Methodist University. All of these colleges have averages in the 1400s up to 1500. That's what you can get into. I will note, as we start to get up the scale, the whole question of test optional, not test optional, I recommend you guys check out another video I have, which are best bets for test optional. And what I do in that video is I go into a chart that basically shows you the percentile of SAT plus ACT and adds them together. And we'll link out to that in the blog that goes with this video. But that's another metric that I want you guys taking into account. When we add those two percentiles together, you're going to see, like, can I really get into this college or not? Okay, finally, we're getting into what is an awesome SAT score. An awesome SAT score to me is in the 1500s. A lot of schools in this range have started to go test required. And I'm going to talk in a minute about the calculus there because, as you probably realize, in a test optional world, test score ranges get inflated because suddenly there's a hole of kids who didn't submit anything. So when we take that hole off, the portion of the student body that's actually submitting scores, and then we take the 25th to 50th percentile of that, it's higher than when we used to have everybody submitting scores, right? So there's inflation, and that inflation we can take into account when we're saying, do I have a shot at getting into Brown now that I have to submit my test score? We're probably going to move that line back a little bit. And the inflation to me is anywhere from 10 to 30 points per section. And I'm going to go through some specific numbers in a few minutes. But here's what's an awesome SAT score: MIT, Harvard, Stanford, UPenn, Yale, Duke, Brown, Carnegie Mellon, Princeton, NYU, Wash U, Dartmouth, Rice, Vanderbilt, Harvey Med, Amherst, Williams, Cornell, Swarthmore, Tufts, Northwestern, USC, Southern California, and Wellesley. I'm going to point out you might see some surprises in here. You might go, Brooke, why the heck is NYU up there with Princeton? Why do they have the same SAT average? Well, that's because NYU is highly test optional, and they mean it. Only the sum of SAT and ACT scores at NYU of enrolled students was only 39%. What that means is over 61% of students got into NYU without any test scores at all. And NYU basically doesn't want to see your test score if you don't have a 1500 plus. And you probably have better odds of getting in if you don't submit, if you're not in that 25th to 75th percentile at NYU. You truly can be test optional. And that's how their score range is up here with the heavy hitters. But it also means if you have a really high test score, NYU might be a good backup school because maybe they're going to take some people with really high test scores who might not have huge wow factors or amazing essays or whatever it is to try to help them get to this pinnacle of test score awesomeness, right? Can kind of get you into the psychology of what works at NYU. Same with some other colleges here. A lot of them have test sums that are in the 50th percentile, like even University of Southern California is about 50-50 right now. Now we have really huge test availability issues in California, and USC pulls a lot of students from California, so that could be part of that issue. But again, you can truly get in test optional in these schools where you've got 50, 53, 54%, 51%. But I would say you're probably not getting into some of these colleges where the sum is much higher. For example, like Princeton has not been publishing the data, but I'm going to go ahead and call out that, like, if all of Princeton's peers are going test required and you're not submitting at Princeton, your odds are going to go down probably by a lot. So one other quick note that I told you guys I was going to show you. So I'm going to pull up the data from 2019 and 2023 at the 4 colleges that just went test required that are on this list, and that's Dartmouth, Brown, Harvard, and Yale. We're going to add Stanford and Cornell to that in a year, but I'm not going to deal with them right now because they're not there yet. What I want to show you is this score range inflation. So in 2019 at Dartmouth, Now, Dartmouth hasn't released any data since 2020 on purpose because they didn't want this to get inflated. So theirs is probably going to be about the same, which the reading and writing range is about 710 to 770, and the math is 730 to 790. But you can see at Brown in 2019, it was lower than Dartmouth, 700 to 770, and then 740 to 800, a little bit higher in the math, but about the same as Dartmouth. But you can see their 2023 numbers are way higher than their 2019 numbers, right? 740 to 770 is their reading range now. 760 to 800 is their math range now. So it's just gone up, 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 up. My point to you is if you want to apply to Brown and you're like, oh, Brooke, I only have a 1470 on my SAT, apply and see what happens. And don't worry too much about it. I mean, obviously get your SAT score up if you can, it's going to help. But 1495 was the median score in 2019. So if you've got a 1490, you probably have a shot. At 1470, you might have a shot at Brown this year, even though their ranges are higher. So just take all these with a grain of salt. Harvard, same thing, 740 to 780 in the verbal. Used to be 710 to 770. So here we just see the lower end has popped up a little bit because people aren't submitting, right? The higher end's the same because the people with the high scores are submitting. People at the low end, that's where we see that shift up. And same with Yale, 740 to 780 versus 720 to 770. We see a little bump, like a 20-point bump at the bottom there. So obviously it would be great to be in this 50 to 75th percentile range from 2023 at these 4 schools. But if you're 20 points off, don't stress out. It's okay. I'm expecting most of these ranges to pop down 10 to 30 points this year, and we'll see what happens when the common data set comes out next year. If you want all the data, we've organized it all for you on the blog that goes with this video. Definitely go check it out. If you liked this information and found it helpful, subscribe to our channel because we'd love to help you through this college admissions process. I also have lots of awesome SAT and ACT tips. We'd also love to help you get your scores up and help you learn all of the fundamentals that you need in order to succeed on the SAT, the ACT, and in college and beyond. So thanks guys for watching. Go crush the SAT.